For this section of notes, we're just going to further break down the periodic table. I know last section we looked at atomic masses, subatomic particles, how to calculate compounds, as well as electron configurations. Hopefully from everything you guys completed for me, you guys have a little bit better understanding of what's going to be expected of you on the upcoming exam. As we go throughout these notes are the ones to which you guys are going to write them down verbatim of what's presented to you. With that being said, you're going to need a few pieces of paper. Unless you write really small, you might be able to get away with 1 or 2 pieces. But you will need to pause the video as we go throughout to make sure you guys are getting down all of the information that's going to be needed. You guys will be tested over this material. You guys will be presented with a blank periodic table, which you guys will refer to these notes in order to complete the given tasks assigned. As with the other 2 sets, any questions, make sure you guys ask, and then I will do my best to hopefully clarify for you in order to prepare for that upcoming exam. Alright, so we're going to see them again, isotopes. Alright, I cannot stress enough that isotopes simply vary in the number of neutrons. Okay, recall neutrons have that neutral charge. If I'm changing protons, I'm changing the entire element. Same thing with electrons. So you want to make sure that with isotopes you guys are aware that the number of neutrons change. Okay. Isotopes have that same atomic number. So your atomic number is going to be consistent all the way throughout. Go back to that carbon example. That's what we're going to get ready to see here coming up. Going back to carbon, you guys see that 6 protons are consistent all the way throughout. If I were to change it, add 1 more, I'm going to change the entire element and move to nitrogen. So again, as I said, with your isotopes, you're still going to have the same atomic number, but of course now your atomic masses are going to vary. Because remember, if you guys recall, you guys take your protons plus your neutrons. Well, that's awful. But you're going to take your protons plus your neutrons in order to get the atomic masses. So if I know that this number right here is always going to stay the same, this is the only number that can vary. Alright, they provide you an example with helium. So you guys can see, look at the 2 red dots. All the way throughout, we have 2 red dots. The yellow dots are the ones that's varying. So the 2 red dots represent the atomic number. In helium, we know the atomic number is 2. It's the second element found on the periodic table. Therefore, these yellow dots are my neutrons and can vary. And as you guys can see, we can get pretty high in number. Okay, looking at helium, right here, helium-8, that means we have 6 neutrons. Okay. Again, don't forget this example. You guys don't have to write this one down in your notes. Just another example to show you guys that 6 protons are consistent all the way throughout, and that your number of neutrons do vary. Okay, your number of neutrons do vary. Again, are we changing the charge? No. Okay, we're not changing this charge, we're just changing the atomic masses. So we go from 12, 13 to 14. Okay, again, that's because we're taking our protons plus our neutrons to get that atomic mass. Alright, periodic table components. So periodic table is simply defined as a diagram used to identify the elements present and their accompanying characteristics. Okay, so what I'm talking about there is they're going to provide us with our atomic number, our element symbol, and our atomic mass. Okay. Your periodic table is arranged in a specific order, and it's arranged according to atomic number. Right? So what that means is hydrogen is 1, helium is 2, lithium is 3, so on and so forth. It's not arranged alphabetically. A lot of times they're going to refer to it as being arranged chronologically. Just means in order, in number order 1 through 118, 119, probably about now, with how many elements we have. that we've been able to discover. Alright, this is important in terms of knowing the horizontal rows versus the vertical columns on a periodic table. You guys might be asked, go to period 1, group 1. What element is that? Well, that's going to be hydrogen. So your horizontal rows, looking at a periodic table, your horizontal rows going across our term periods. Think about writing sentences. Okay, at the end of most sentences, we're going to have a period. Okay, going to have a period at the end of most sentences. How do we write sentences? We write them horizontally. Vertical columns, groups. Okay, so you guys are going to need to be able to know each term. Do not forget about electron configurations. All right, with electron configurations, we're using atomic numbers. Each element within the periodic table has the same number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So if I'm looking at the periodic table, I know that protons, neutrons, and electrons with each element are identical. Okay, so what am I talking about there? Looking at hydrogen. In hydrogen, I know that I have 1 proton, 1 neutron, and 1 electron. Okay. In neon, I know that I have 10 of each subatomic particle. That allows them to be considered electrically neutral. So every element on the periodic table is considered to be electrically neutral because I have the same number of positives as I do the negatives. And recall, we get that from the atomic number. Last but not least, okay, going over the different groups you guys are going to be responsible for. Okay. Excuse me. Group 1. All right. Group 1. Again, groups go up and down. Okay. Group 1 are deemed your alkali metals. Group 2 are deemed your alkaline earth metals. Make sure you guys are aware of the difference. Your middle group, okay, is deemed your transition metals. And then the last group you're going to need to know for me are your noble gases, which is group 8. Now, I know looking at this periodic table, I know the numbers are a little smaller, but in some cases, people who develop periodic tables include the transition metals as part of the periodic table. In other cases, in other periodic tables you guys see, what's going to end up happening is they're going to go 1, 2, skip over this entire transition metal. And this is going to become 3, 4, and then we're going to end here at 8. Okay. For this course, I do not care, I do not mind, rather, which one you guys do. If you guys want to include the transition metals as numbering them because it's easier for you to understand, then that's fine with me. If you guys want to skip over the transition metals, whatever the case may be, this last group either needs to be 18 or 8. Okay? If it's 17, it's incorrect. If it's 19, it's incorrect. So again, looking at this periodic table, sometimes you're going to see the transition metals included, other times you're not, and it's going to skip over these, and then this is where your 3 and 4 are going to begin. To finish out, the noble gases are, I guess, awesome in the science world because they're so incredibly stable. If you guys recall, our atoms, our elements, want to have 8 electrons. Okay, that's what group 8 or group 18 does for the noble gases. It allows them to have 8 electrons in their valence shell. So if you guys pay particularly close attention to group 1, okay, remember group 1 going up and down. Group 1, I know I'm only going to have 1 valence electron. That means in the outermost shell, I'm only going to see 1 electron. Okay, the same thing goes for group 2. Then we skip over all the way down to 18. group 18 or group 8, I know I'm going to have 8 valence electrons. That's why it's considered very stable and very non-reactive in nature. So this kind of concludes the extent to which we will view or review rather the periodic table and its components. As I said, you guys have a worksheet coming up. You guys are going to be asked to locate the groups and locate the periods. Make sure you guys can distinguish between which one, or which one is which rather. You guys will do that on your exam that's up and coming. And as I stated, if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me or ask Mr. Wagner or Mrs. Kinney. Hope you guys have a good day.